Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your regularly scheduled programming to bring you this special bulletin. Much like, what is it? Numerous STDs that just don't seem to want to go away. Stories upon stories and articles continue to be written about Dragon Age the Veilguard. Why can't this infection just go away? This isn't necessarily the article I want to cover, but it's one of a couple, because this, I don't believe, I'm pressing X to doubt, Dragon Age fans are apologizing. Really. All because a so-called journalist wrote an article. At least he got it out there before he needed to write a book, right? After the Dragon Age Veilguard backlash. Apologizing. No, they're not. But this is the more interesting one. And of course, it's the gamer, because they're running out of stuff to write about. But hey, here we are yet again, much like... Anyway. We couldn't have made a better Dragon Age. I think a team of monkeys at a typewriter could have written a better dialogue than what these individuals accomplished. Veilguard developer claps back at everyone saying they made a bad game. Well, the truth hurts. It's time for you to accept... to accept accountability, but you just don't know how to do that. Following the recent report that what went wrong with Dragon Age the Veilguard from a writer who wanted to sell a book holding on to pertinent information of rather despicable things going on behind the scenes at one particularly popular studio, but hey, what do I know? Level designer for the game has said that BioWare couldn't have made a better Dragon Age. Now, that should tell you everything you need to know about the talent, or lack thereof, involved in the writing, the developing, the creation of Dragon Age Veilguard. Regardless of the pivot from a live service game, I'm sure that would have been oh so much more successful, to a single-player game, the dialogue is still the dialogue. Garbage, steaming pile of hot garbage, but whatever. How many more videos can I make? How many more times are we going to have to talk about Dragon Age the Veilguard? It's been, what, 7, 8 months now? I believe it's free on PlayStation Plus. What are we doing here? Why are we continuing to try and drum up sympathy for a failure of a game? Just let it die. Let's move on, shall we? Maybe... listen to the critics. Listen to the problems that people had with the game. Whether it's the characters, the dialogue, Tosh, the setting, the pivot from what the... oh no, that was Avowed. That's a whole different video there. The pivot from what Dragon Age was to what the Veilguard became. Listen to the critics. Dig in through all the trolls and all the nonsense, because the actual critics are there. The ones with some constructive criticism. I know I gave some. I went on a few rants myself. Look for ways to improve. Look for ways to hone your writing instead of constantly pointing the finger at everyone else. It was a targeted campaign from content creators and YouTubers. That's why the game failed. Or was it the change in leadership? Or was it the crunch time? Or was it the pivot from live service to single player? Or was it any other number of excuses besides what actually happened? The writers, the lack of talent, what was seen as the ideological checkbox push for the non-existent modern audience. By now, we all know that Dragon Age the Veilguard wasn't quite the game that fans had spent so long waiting for. Understatement of the day there. Although the reviews were fairly positive from the bought and paid for shills and access media websites out there, which we have come to expect are going to give bullshit reviews, bullshit numbers. They're meaningless. And there was some good to be found where? Where? Please tell us. Most agree that it simply did not live up to the decade of anticipation or the amount of money they spent on it. Something that EA clearly agreed with after the game's sales numbers. What were the sales numbers? Pretty abysmal, if I remember. While it was pretty clear what went wrong with Dragon Age the Veilguard, yes, it's called checkbox ideological nonsense, catering to an audience that doesn't exist. But hey, I'm sure Bloomberg and Jason Schreier and Paul Tassi will absolutely refuse to acknowledge any of the critics. Bloomberg shared a report earlier in the month that took a deep dive into everything that happened while ignoring the online criticisms. As illuminating as that report was and full of nonsensical bullshit that really I personally do not believe could have had that much of an effect on the writing and lack of enjoyment, I guess. As illuminating as those reports was, though, those who worked on the game aren't letting it take away from what they released. Response. Following Bloomberg's report on the Veilguard, former level designer supervisor Brian J. Audette took to Blue Sky. I'm never going there. To share his thoughts. To share their thoughts. Oh no. I'm not doing this. To share his thoughts on everything it revealed. Audette's response actually happened some time ago, but it resurfaced thanks to a recent post. So not only are we, necrotizing? Not only are we resurrecting the game over and over again, discussion of the game, but we're bringing up a dead post of some nonsense? Thanks to a recent post on Dragon Age subreddit from Redditor Aversion Incarnate. In his reply, Audette said that he refutes the claim that BioWare made a, quote, bad or compromised game. Well, the people that bought it, unfortunately, and played the game will have something to say because, I've said this a few times, say it more. The customer is always right in matter of taste. When you do not cater to your target demographic and they walk away and shut their wallets tight, well, then you have a problem. You have made a bad product. End of, that's it. You can have faith. You can be proud of what you made, but unfortunately it did not make any money, and I'm going to question your abilities as a creator. The team actually made the best version of what we released, warts and all. My goodness, if that is the best you could have done, then you may want to find a career elsewhere. Maybe stop trying to learn to code. Put the fries in the bag? Nah, that's too far. Audette also stated that he's proud of what the team put together, even though they should be fired, and that they couldn't have made a better Dragon Age. Only a different one. That was just as bad? Really? You couldn't have made a better game. It would only been a different Dragon Age that was just as horrible and terrible. Blah. I refute, blah, blah, blah. Alongside that, Audette also pointed out that the Veilguard is still the best reviewed game that he's worked on in his 25-year career. I'll say this again. If that is true, you may want to find career employment elsewhere, away from this industry, because you did not do a good job. Or, hey, let's be fair. As I said before, check the criticisms, see what people are saying, sift through the nonsense, the bullshit, the trolls, find where to improve, hone your skill, go into hiding, get away from the industry for a little while and hone your skills, and maybe send out examples of your writing, coding, developing, whatever it is you do, out to other people and practice, get better. It's a skill. Maybe you can, unless of course you have absolutely no imagination, in which case you're screwed. Where was I? Despite Audette's claim, the Dragon Age subreddit seems pretty mixed. Mixed? Oh wait, it's Reddit. Never mind. Noting that level design was one of the many issues the Veilguard had. Oh, it was the least of its problems, and that it was still a disappointment overall. The idea, oh, what was this one? If this is the best rated game of his 25-year career, maybe he should rethink his work. Yes, indeed. If this is what you're proud of, if this objective failure is what you are so proud of, this is your best work, you could not have done any better, maybe find a different career. Is there going to come a time where we stop seeing articles, excuses, projection, gaslighting? Pick a word. Dragon Age the Veilguard was a failure. It's dead. It's gone. From the marketing to the gameplay to the mechanics to the characters to the writing, the world looked beautiful, but it could not save the game. Everything I just mentioned, absolutely abysmal from beginning to end, from the moment it was talked about. Can we stop? Maybe, perhaps. Anyway, I'm rambling on entirely too long. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Leave a like, leave a dislike, do all those nifty little things that YouTube is begging you to do, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye!